Rex didn't understand why so many people were staring at him. The 8-year-old German shepherd sat perfectly still beside his handler, tail occasionally wagging at familiar scents in the crowd. He detected bombs, saved soldiers, and completed missions that would never make the evening news. To him, he was just doing his job. To the 300 people gathered in the park, he was a living hero who deserved every honor they could give him. Staff Sergeant Mike Collins adjusted his dress uniform and looked down at his partner of 6 years. Rex's ears were alert, eyes scanning the crowd with the same vigilance that had kept them both alive through 3 deployments. Even in retirement, the dog's training remained sharp. "Easy, boy," Mike whispered, running his hand along Rex's back. "This is for you." The ceremony at Riverside Park had grown far beyond what Mike expected. When he'd mentioned Rex's retirement to a few neighbors, word had somehow spread through the entire town of Cedar Falls. Now the local high school marching band was warming up, the mayor was adjusting a microphone, and veterans from 3 wars had formed an honor guard. Rex tilted his head at the unfamiliar sounds. Back in Afghanistan, loud noises meant danger. Here, they seemed to mean celebration, though he wasn't entirely sure what they were celebrating. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mayor Patricia Williams began, her voice carrying across the park. "We're here today to honor a very special veteran. Rex, a military working dog, has served our country with distinction for 8 years." At the sound of his name, Rex's ears perked up. He looked at Mike, waiting for a command that didn't come. This was different from their usual routine. Rex and Staff Sergeant Collins completed 3 tours in Afghanistan, the mayor continued. Together, they detected over 40 improvised explosive devices, saving countless American lives. Rex didn't understand the words, but he recognized the tone. Serious, respectful, the same tone officers used during mission briefings. He sat straighter, falling into the alert posture that had become second nature. In the crowd, 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, why is everyone so quiet?" Her father, a veteran himself, knelt down. "Because that dog is a hero, Mija. He kept soldiers safe so that they could come home to their families." Emma studied Rex carefully. He looked like a regular dog to her, though bigger than most. "How'd he do that?" "With his nose, sweetheart. Dog can smell things we can't. Things that might hurt people." Rex's nose twitched. Then Colonel James Patterson stepped to the microphone. Rex knew that voice. His tail began wagging before he even turned to look. "Rex," the colonel said, his voice carrying the authority that had commanded respect in forward operating bases across Afghanistan. "Attention." Instantly, Rex snapped to military bearing. Back straight, eyes forward, every muscle ready for orders. The crowd murmured in appreciation at the display of discipline. "Rex served in some of the most dangerous regions of Afghanistan," Colonel Patterson began. His keen senses and unwavering loyalty prevented numerous casualties. In Helmand Province, he detected an IED that would have destroyed an entire convoy. In Kandahar, his alert saved a school full of children. As the colonel spoke, Rex's mind drifted to sense memories. The acrid smell of explosives hidden in roadside trash. The satisfaction of a successful find, followed by Mike's praise and a favorite toy. The weight of his protective vest on hot desert days. He remembered the last mission clearly. A marketplace in Kabul where his nose had detected something wrong. The urgent bark that had cleared the area just minutes before the explosion. The way Mike had held him afterward, whispering "good boy" over and "Rex," Mike said softly, kneeling beside his partner. "Release." It was the command that meant the mission was over, that he could relax his vigilance. But this time, as Mike unclipped the military collar and replaced it with the civilian one, Rex sensed something different, something final. For a moment, confusion flickered in the dog's dark eyes. Then Mike produced a tennis ball, not the training dummy they'd used for work, but a bright yellow ball meant for play. "This is yours now," Mike whispered. "No more missions. Just home." Rex sniffed the ball, then looked up at Mike. Slowly, his tail began to wag. Not the controlled movement of a working dog acknowledging a command, but the enthusiastic wag of a pet who'd just received a gift. The crowd erupted in applause, but Rex barely noticed. He was focused on the ball in Mike's hand and the word that had just changed everything: home. Later, as the formal ceremony concluded and people began approaching to meet Rex, Mike watched his partner navigate this new world. Children wanted to pet him, veterans wanted to shake his paw, and local news crews wanted footage of the hometown hero. Rex handled it all with the same calm professionalism he'd shown on patrol. But Mike noticed the small changes. The way Rex's posture relaxed when he realized— "He's beautiful," said Mrs. Chun, an elderly woman who'd been watching from the front row. "What will he do now?" Mike smiled. "Learn to be a pet. It might take some time. He's been working his whole adult life. But he's earned the chance to just enjoy being a dog. Will you keep him?" "Absolutely. Military working dogs can be adopted by their handlers when they retire. Rex and I are partners for life." As the afternoon wore on, Rex began to understand that this gathering was different from anything he'd experienced. There was no mission to complete, no perimeter to secure. These people had come simply to see him, to express gratitude for service he'd never considered remarkable. A group of children from the local elementary school had made a banner, "Thank you, Rex," with crayon drawings of dogs and American flags. When they presented it to him, Rex sniffed the paper carefully, then allowed them to pet his head. "Is he really retired now?" asked 10-year-old Marcus, whose own father had served overseas. "He is," Mike replied. "No more dangerous work. Just walks in the park and sleeping on the couch." Rex tilted his head at that last part. The couch had always been off-limits during their military life. The idea that rules might be different now was still a foreign concept. As the sun began to set, the crowd gradually dispersed. As Mike and Rex walked back to their truck, the dog's new civilian collar jingling softly with each step, Rex paused to look back at the park. Maintenance crews were already cleaning up, folding chairs, and taking down the small stage. But the memory of this day would linger, not just for the people who'd attended, but for Rex himself. For the first time in his adult life, he'd been celebrated not for detecting threats or completing missions, but simply for being himself. The drive home was quiet, with Rex riding in the passenger seat instead of the secured compartment he'd known during their military service. Mike had rolled down the windows, and Rex enjoyed the sensation of wind in his fur without the weight of tactical gear. At home, a small house Mike had bought after their last deployment, new challenges awaited. Rex had lived in kennels and military compounds his entire adult life. The idea of a living room, a kitchen where food appeared without being distributed at specific times, and a backyard where he could run without purpose would all require adjustment. But as they pulled into the driveway, Rex caught a scent that made his tail wag: the neighbor's barbecue grill. It smelled like celebration, like home, like the beginning of a life where the most dangerous thing he'd encounter was deciding which sunny spot in the yard was best. That night, as Rex lay on his new dog bed in the living room, he could hear Mike moving around the house, following their old evening routine, but with small differences. No equipment to clean, no mission briefs to review, no early wake-up call to prepare for. Tomorrow would bring new experiences, a walk that wasn't a patrol, breakfast that wasn't scheduled by military precision, and hours to fill with nothing more important than enjoying the sunshine. Rex closed his eyes, one ear still alert to the sounds of the house, old habits dying hard. But for the first time in 8 years, he slept the deep, dreamless sleep of someone whose watch had finally ended. In the morning, when Mike woke to find Rex had somehow migrated from his dog bed to the forbidden couch, he just smiled and started the coffee. After 8 years of keeping soldiers safe, Rex had earned the right to sleep wherever he wanted. The retirement ceremony had officially ended Rex's military career, but had begun something even more important: his second chapter as a beloved pet in a community that would never forget what he'd sacrificed for their freedom. And Rex, now fully understanding that his mission had changed from protecting others to simply being loved, settled into his new role with the same dedication he'd shown in Afghanistan.